You know that feeling, right? When your project feels like a game of telephone, where this brilliant idea at the start gets, well, completely garbled by the time it hits the finish line? Today, we're going to unpack the one simple document that acts as a universal translator, making sure what's asked for is exactly what gets delivered.
We have all been there. A project kicks off, the energy is high, the team is great, there's a clear goal, but then somewhere down the line, it just descends into chaos. Suddenly, requirements are getting dropped, random features are being added, and the final product, it barely looks like the original vision. How does this keep happening?
So when you look at these usual suspects, lost requirements, scope creep, miscommunication, it's easy to see them as a bunch of separate problems. But really, they almost always point back to one single root cause, a total disconnect between the initial request and the final build. Teams end up working in their own little bubbles, and the whole point of the project just gets lost in the noise.
But what if you had a master document? A single source of truth that connects every single dot from the very beginning all the way to the end. Well, that's exactly where the RTM comes in.
It's called the Requirements Traceability Matrix, or RTM for short. Honestly, the best way to think of it is as your project's GPS. It's this living, breathing document that maps every single requirement and tracks its entire journey through design, development, and testing. It makes sure that nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, gets left behind.
And this just nails the difference, right? On the left, you've got a project without an RTM. It's pretty much organized chaos. But on the right, with an RTM, you get structured clarity. Suddenly, every requirement has a home, every test has a clear purpose, and everybody on the team can see exactly where things stand.
Okay, so what's actually under the hood? Let's pop it open and break down the anatomy of the matrix. Because this thing is way more than just a to-do list, it's a detailed blueprint for getting things done right.
So if you look at a typical RTM, it's actually pretty straightforward. Every requirement gets its own unique ID, so it's easy to track. Then you have a crystal clear description, you know its source, like did it come from a stakeholder meeting or a formal document. You've got the specific test case that proves it works, and a live status, so you get this real-time snapshot of your progress.
All right, that all sounds great in theory, but how do you actually build one of these for your own project? It might seem a little intimidating, but the process itself is actually super logical.
Building one is really a 5-step journey. First, you define your destination. What are the project's goals? Next, you gather up all your supplies, which is every single requirement you can find. Then, you build the actual framework of the matrix with clear naming rules. After that, you connect all the dots, linking requirements to tests. And then, and this is the most critical step, you have to maintain it. This is not a set it and forget it kind of thing. It has to live and breathe with your project. But here's where it gets really powerful. An RTM isn't just a linear tracker from A to B. The real magic comes from how you can look at the project from completely different directions, giving you a full 360-degree perspective. Okay, so first you have forward traceability. This basically answers the question, are we building the product right? It tracks requirements forward to their test cases, making sure every single feature you planned is actually getting validated. Then you've got the flip side. Backward traceability. This answers a totally different but just as crucial question. Are we building the right product? It links the finished work back to the original requirements. This is your #1 defense against scope creep, because it immediately flags any extra features that snuck in without being asked for. And when you put them both together, you get bi-directional traceability. This is the gold standard. It gives you complete confidence that every requirement is being tested, and every test is tied to a valid requirement. Nothing gets missed, and nothing extra gets added.
So let's bring this all full circle. Remember those problems we started with? The lost requirements, the crazy scope creep, the general chaos? Let's look at exactly how the RTM is the answer to all of that.
And this is the payoff. An RTM stops the chaos by guaranteeing full test coverage. It gives everyone, from the big stakeholders to the devs on the ground, a clear view of the project's health. It makes handling changes a breeze because you can see the ripple effect of any new request instantly. And maybe best of all, it helps you find and fix problems early, which saves a ridiculous amount of time, money, and headaches.
Now you might be thinking, hey, can't I just do this in a spreadsheet? And yeah, for a small project, that's a great place to start. But modern projects, with all their complexity, they often need a lot more firepower.
Look, spreadsheets are fine to get your feet wet, but they can quickly become a real liability.
They are so prone to human error, and they turn into a nightmare to manage as a project gets bigger. That's where dedicated tools like Jira, especially when it's integrated with something like TestRail, are an absolute game changer. They automate all those connections, creating a dynamic, trustworthy source of truth for everyone.
You know, this quote from TestRail just says it all, really. The whole goal is to create a single, unified source of truth. When everyone, from your business analysts to your QA team, is working from the exact same playbook, that's when the real magic happens.
So I'll leave you with this question. Could this simple matrix save your next project? By connecting the why with the what and the how, the requirements traceability matrix might just be the most valuable document you're not using yet. It's the difference between just hoping for success and actually engineering it.